Hello friends, it has been a long time since I've made one of these videos. I had a pretty crazy 2024, and one of those big things that happened was that I got hired on to illustrate a children's book, and that took up half of my year, and it was all good, but it was just very busy, so I'm really glad to get back to making these YouTube videos. I will eventually talk more about the children's book, but I will make a whole video on the whole process. But today we are going to be drawing Wicked. As many of you, I absolutely love the movie and, of course, the original play. So I decided to make a whole 2-page spread, which I have never done before. So this was an interesting challenge, but let's get into it. Before I continue the rest of this video, I do want to preface that I lost a ton of footage of me coloring this spread. I take my videos with my phone, and I was messing around with some settings to get a little more clear picture quality. However, because of that, it caused a lot of upload, importing, exporting issues, and a lot of videos got corrupted. Some of them I couldn't even get onto my computer from my phone, and it was just a whole mess. So you'll only be seeing a few of the images being colored, and then it will just skip to seeing the whole spread. So I'm really sorry. I'm pretty bummed about it, but it was a lesson that I needed to learn, I guess, and now I know better not to do what I did last time. Okay, so now about the movie. I, first off, saw this play back in 2020 or 2021, sometime around there. But this was the first time I had been able to see it. Of course, I had known about the music, I had known about the play, and it absolutely impacted me in a way that I wasn't expecting. And I was really nervous when they announced that they were going to make a film adaptation of the musicals, because like many other musical adaptations, there was a possibility that it would not live up to the expectation and the emotion and the power of the original. But Ariana Grande did a great job portraying Glinda and all of her silly moments. And I was scared about Ariana Grande playing Glinda, because I think we all have our preconceived image of Ariana Grande, and she just has such a distinct character that I was not sure if she was going to portray Glinda accurately. But I think Ariana's love for this musical and this character really showed through, and I think that she did a great job. I know people have mixed feelings about it, but I have no complaints about hers or Cynthia Erivo's portrayals of these two iconic characters and the songs that they each sing. Holy cow, their voices blended so well together, and individually they did an absolutely phenomenal job. Defying Gravity is such a powerhouse song that it's always kind of scary to see how somebody is going to sing it and kind of make it their own. And especially with film adaptations, I feel like they try to make everything bigger and better and sometimes kind of overdo it. And I did kind of feel that way whenever I had heard Cynthia Erivo's war cry at the end of Defying Gravity in the trailer. And at first I thought, I don't know, she's kind of doing too much. But in the context of the film and her singing the rest of the song, I was absolutely in tears. I felt the power and the emotion, and it didn't feel like too much. It just felt like it belonged and it fit, almost like the way I felt whenever I had heard the way that Haley Bailey had done part of Your World in the Little Mermaid live remake. I remember thinking that the way that she flourished it was a little too much in the trailer, but then hearing it all together, I absolutely love her version. Probably better or just differently than the original, but this same thing happened with Cynthia Erivo playing Elphaba singing Defying Gravity. I'm really sad that these two actresses were snubbed multiple times for their singing and acting and overall performance in this movie and all the award shows so far this year, but I'm hoping that with the second part they will be rewarded. But I also know a lot of these award shows are very rigged. There's a lot of politics. There's so much that goes into it that even though they did a phenomenal job, in my opinion, better than the movies that did win, they still might not win any awards. But I hope that they and the rest of the production team really feels proud of what they created. Obviously, I don't know how the second part will come out, but I feel a lot more optimistic about it than I did when I first heard about this film being created, because there was nothing that I felt was untrue to the musical. It was a great tribute to the musical and to the fans of the musical and to all the actors and actresses that had played in these musicals over the years, especially Idina and Kristen. You could see a little bit of their influences on the way these actresses portrayed these characters. Of course, I mean, how could you not? They were the original Elphaba and Glindas. And I'm so happy that they honored them even more by including Kristen and Idina in the movie. I audibly gasped whenever I saw them. I was so happy. I remember like tapping my husband like repeatedly. I was like, oh my gosh, it's them. It made me sad that some other people in the theater or even my family members who don't love this play the way I do had no idea. They're like, why are these people in the play? Like, they knew they're famous for like, why would they put them in the movie? And I was like, hello, they were the originals. And watching them go up to Cynthia and Ariana and just kind of like hold their hands and like press their face, like almost like, I'm passing this mantle on to you and I'm so proud of the work that you've done, is like, that just made my heart so happy. I don't think I really have any complaints about this movie. The sets were phenomenal. I'm so happy that they used live sets that they built from scratch rather than rely on CGI like a lot of other films have been lately, because when you can tell something is just like animated in, it could kind of kill the immersion. But this, you really felt immersed into the world, and oh my gosh, it was so excited to see this world fleshed out, because, you know, on the stage you can only portray so much. But with all these sets, you just really had a good grasp of this world and the etherealness, the magicalness. I really hope that they keep these sets up and the public can eventually go and almost like have a tourist attraction for us. I really don't know how this stuff works whenever people make sets. Do they get destroyed afterwards? Do they keep them up? Does it depend on how successful the movie was? I have no idea. But if I ever heard that they did keep these up and made it into like a museum or just like an amusement where you can just walk through it and experience it, I would definitely sign up for that. I know a lot of people complained that, I don't know, a lot of people that I saw on TikTok and there was quite a few people complaining that it wasn't vibrant enough, which I almost wonder if maybe the screens they saw it on were desaturated, because every time I see it, I think it's pretty saturated, and if it was any more saturated, it kind of would have been overwhelming to watch. But I think it was the exact amount of color and vibrancy that I would have expected from this film. Honestly, don't have many complaints. My only complaint has to do with the story as it is, whether it's the musical or the film, and that is the relationship between Elphaba and Fiyero. While I do love their story, I do not feel the chemistry between them like I do between Elphaba and Glinda. And while there is nothing wrong with having their chemistry, 100%, whenever people are like watching it with me for the first time and they're like, oh my gosh, why don't they just kiss? I'm like, I know! But obviously they didn't go that route. If they had, then obviously I would have zero complaints. But they had Elphaba and Fiyero getting together in the end. Spoiler, I guess, sorry if you don't know what happens in the second part. But I do feel like they're setting that up already in this first part. Anyway, I just always had a problem that there was not enough chemistry between Elfie and Fiyero. It just seems like this typical you're different from other girls kind of relationship or attraction from Fiyero to Elphaba, and Elphaba is attracted to him because, I mean, he is good looking, but also he's the first person to not treat her like this strange girl just because she has green skin. Like from the beginning, he's like, why are you being so defensive? Like, I don't care about your skin color. And especially whenever she gets upset about the cub and he goes and helps her, and she starts going up like, do you think I want to be this way? Like, I know I care so much about everything and I wish I didn't, but I do. And like, I just want everybody to be loved and cared for, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, like, yeah, I get it. You just need to chill because I'm like on your side and I understand. He's just an incredibly kind and respectful person to her and doesn't treat her any differently than he does everyone else. But yeah, I don't really see, other than that draw for Elphaba to Fiyero and Fiyero to Elphaba, other than that, there's not really much connecting them. And I was hoping that in this film version they would maybe fill in that gap, but I know that this play is very long and there was so much that they already needed to include for this first part, while also kind of fleshing out a few other things. I don't know, we'll see how this second part goes. I at least remember the second part of The Wicked Show being significantly, maybe not significantly, but quite shorter than the first part. So I'm hoping we'll get a little more fleshing out of Elphaba and Fiyero's relationship. So at the end, it just really feels satisfying. Or if they want to change things and make Glinda and Elphaba canon for the musical, because I hear that for the book they are canon in a way, but you know, musical wise they're not. But for the films, I would be so happy, and I know the majority of the fan base would be as well. I doubt that they'll do that though, but who knows? I guess we'll see in November of this year. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, including some footage of me coloring this spread. Let me know what you thought of this movie in the comments, and I will be releasing a video soon about the process of making the children's book, which I will leave a link in my description for anyone interested in purchasing the book, which is called Fuel to Fly. It's by Catherine Greenhaw and illustrated by me. But until that video, I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you next time.